and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for coming back and bearing with me with all these new videos, but I'm actually really enjoying doing them and hopefully you're enjoying watching them. So today's video is going to be a slightly different one. It's one that I've decided to put together based on the fact that I get a lot of questions on Instagram about this particular subject, and I thought rather than kind of keep replying the same kind of answers, which takes a lot of time, I thought it might be quite interesting to put everything into a video and kind of direct people to that, and obviously if anyone has any more questions they can ask. So if you haven't gathered from the title of this video, today I will be talking about my rhinoplasty surgery or my nose job. If you've read my blog then you may, or follow me on Twitter, then you may have seen that in July 2015 I underwent a nose job or rhinoplasty surgery with Transform. It was something that I'd always wanted to do but never really thought was possible, and I have written a whole blog post on kind of the background and everything, which obviously I will link below. But today I thought it was quite interesting to talk about nose job surgery as a whole, answer some of your questions that you've been sending me on Instagram, and yeah, just kind of give a realistic overview of what it involves, my experience with it and my befores and afters. Funnily enough, I actually filmed so before I had my surgery I filmed like a little video of me talking about like what I didn't like about my nose, and I found it the other day and I was literally astonished at how different I was, not just appearance wise but how I spoke, how I conducted myself. I just come across a lot more shy. I came across a lot more shy before, and yeah, it was really interesting to kind of see how my face looked before my nose job, because I guess I've obviously got before and after pictures, but yeah, it's a whole lot different. Now, just as a little disclaimer, obviously if you are offended by the thought of plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery, this video probably isn't for you. This video isn't trying to persuade you that everybody needs a nose job. Definitely that's not the case. I was thinking about having a nose job for at least 10 years. I would advise that in any kind of plastic surgery, if it's something you've been thinking about less than 3 years, then it's probably not the right time to do it. I haven't really written down who has asked me particular questions because the questions tended to come up quite a lot. So the first question is, why did you get rhinoplasty? As I mentioned before, I absolutely hated my nose. It was a massive insecurity for me. I felt really unconfident when I met new people. When I walked into a room, I felt like everyone was staring at my nose, and I know that sounds really silly and trivial to someone that's never had a problem with a facial feature or a feature, but it was for a number of years all I could think about, and that was where my insecurities stemmed, I would say. I never thought that getting a nose job would be possible because I thought it was something that only wealthy people did or celebrities did, and at that I thought it would go wrong if I did have it. It was always kind of at the back of my mind, but never something I actually thought I'd go through with. But in January 2015 I found some photos of a holiday that I'd been on, and they were kind of quite candid, natural shots, and in lots of them my side profile was showing, and I was so kind of appalled and disgusted that I told myself I would never go on a holiday again. I didn't want to be photographed. I didn't want that massive insecurity to be documented. I thought at that point I thought actually I would quite like to look into surgery as a possibility. I spoke to someone that had had rhinoplasty surgery and she gave me a recommendation. I did a lot of research, calling up clinics, potentially booking appointments, but lots of them in London, lots of the top kind of private surgeons in London, the quotes were coming back kind of 6,000 or 7,000, and obviously it's something on your face, it's not something you want to cut costs on or try and go for a bargain. However, for me, I was a student, £6,000 or £7,000 was not feasible for me. So it was something, again, that was kind of put on the back burner and I didn't do anything about. And then I found a blog post from a fellow blogger who had had rhinoplasty surgery. Her result looked really, really natural and she'd gone with Transform. So that was kind of my journey into how I found Transform. They offer free consultations, so I felt like, oh, I can book myself a consultation, there's no obligation, I don't have to pay a fee and then kind of be persuaded, because I felt like I'd waste money if I didn't go ahead with the surgery. So for me, that was a really reassuring way into it, I suppose. There was no obligation and I could just go along, chat to a real person about my concerns and see what the possibilities were. So yes, I eventually went with Transform, as I've mentioned, and I have done work with them in the past, but I just want to say that I paid for my surgery absolutely myself, never intended to blog about it. I didn't know if I'd feel comfortable blogging about it, so it wasn't something that I got through my blog at all. I was just so happy with my surgery afterwards that they contacted me and said, oh, we've seen you're a blogger, we're doing a TV advert, and that's how I kind of got into that. But I do just want to say that I paid for the surgery entirely myself, and it wasn't something that was kind of a review or something I did because I got it for free or anything. So the next question is, how much did it cost? Now obviously this was a big factor for me. I was a student at the time and I put money aside that I'd saved up for a number of years, and I had about £4,000 I think. So that was kind of my ballpark figure of how much I was looking to spend. I did think it would be a lot more than that, but I eventually, after seeing the surgeon, so you see a patient coordinator and then the surgeon, and then they kind of give you a rough estimate of how much it's going to cost based on what you're having done. So I think the base cost is about £3,900 with Transform, so that is bump removal and I don't know the kind of technical terms for it, but I know that is the base cost. For me, I was having a number of things done. As you will see later from the before video, I had a deviated septum, so my nose kind of veered off to one side, like curled round. It's very interesting. So yeah, I was having a number of things done, and also I was having the projection reduced so that it wasn't as overwhelming on my face. In total, I paid £4,300, I believe. If I've got that wrong, I will link it in the description box because it is in my blog post. But as far as I can remember, it was about £4,300. I'm on budget, but I'm not kind of compromising on cost. The next question is, how did you pick your surgeon? As I said before, I found a fellow blogger who had had rhinoplasty surgery. Her result looked really natural. I think it is important to go with someone that you've had a personal recommendation from and you've done your research into. I feel like you would know if the surgeon is right for you just from the get-go, from having a meeting with them, if you've got the same goals for your nose, I suppose, and you're on the same wavelength. Obviously they're the experts, so it's good to chat to them in person and get a feel for what they've done before. Make sure you have a look at their before and after pictures, but as I said, having a personal recommendation, you can see a living, breathing example of their work, so I do think that's quite reassuring. I went with Mr. Lahoud at Transform, who does hundreds, if not thousands, of rhinoplasty surgeries, and he is considered an expert for rhinoplasty, so that was reassuring to me. And actually, when I met him, I thought he would be really, I think because I watch a lot of American TV shows where the plastic surgeons are like really charismatic and kind of telling you every little thing that you need to do, I guess I kind of thought that my surgeon was going to be like that, but he was very matter of fact, very, very reassuring in the sense that he gave me quite detailed drawings of what he'd be doing, the incisions he'd be making. He took a lot of photographs and he really genuinely kind of cared about the, my concerns and the outcome. I eventually ended up having 2 meetings with him. which isn't kind of standard, but you can do it. You can request another meeting if you want to go over anything. And yeah, I just felt comfortable putting the future of my face into his hands, and I think that's the question you have to ask yourself when you're going for this kind of surgery. So the next question is, what does it involve? There's actually two different types of rhinoplasty surgery. You can get open and closed surgery. So closed surgery is good if it's more minor tweaks and changes, because they go through the nostrils. I actually had open rhinoplasty surgery, which is where they make an incision in the columella, I think it's called. They basically lift the skin off your nose, which sounds very gruesome. Because mine was quite a lot of changes, the open rhinoplasty surgery was the best. I actually treated myself and watched a YouTube video of an entire rhinoplasty surgery. All the graphic details I was kind of aware of, and that's probably not the best thing to do. I wouldn't recommend that, but I know for me, I like to know everything that I'm going into, so that was quite interesting. But yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend doing that. Next question is, was the pain really bad after surgery? If I'm totally honest, no, I had absolutely zero pain coming out of surgery. Obviously, when you're coming around from the anaesthetic, it's a little bit strange. I thought I was going to be sick. I'd never had general anaesthetic before, but all I had was this weird, like, uncontrollable shaking and laughter, which was very strange for about 20 minutes. And then I came into my room and spent the night in the hospital, in the Riverside Hospital in London, just kind of chilling out and trying desperately to eat food because I was so hungry, but weirdly my top lip didn't work because I think in surgery, like, some of the nerves are severed, so that when you're chewing you're not sort of interrupting the healing process. So yes, for about a month afterwards I couldn't feel my top lip, I couldn't smile. It was a very strange sensation. But no, the pain wasn't bad at all. There's another question here on how much would you give the pain out of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest and 1 the lowest. I would say probably 1 or a 2. It literally wasn't painful at all. I would say having a period is more painful than a nose job. They give you cocodamol for pain relief. I came off those after, I think, the first day, just because I felt like I didn't need them. I would say the only thing in the kind of aftermath, so in the week where you've got the cast on your face, it's quite an emotional week. Obviously you've made a change to your face. It's quite scary, you're anxious to see what it looks like. I know I burst into tears quite a few times at random intervals, just because it's quite a big thing, and I think you prepare yourself for the pain, and the pain isn't there, but it's just nerves and what you've been through, and obviously you've made the change that you've been wanting to make. So yes, and obviously you're a little bit bruised as well. I had one black eye, one eye was really swollen, but I think the thing to do is not look in the mirror too much, don't overthink it, and if you're really feeling rubbish, take lots of funny pictures of yourself to remind yourself of how funny you looked at that time. How do you know whether the surgery is right for you? Now this is a really important question because I don't think that it's something that you should take lightly. It isn't an impulse decision. You need to be absolutely sure that this is right for you. I think also you need to bear in mind that this surgery isn't gonna give you the perfect nose. Why I really liked my surgeon was because he managed my expectations, and he said right from the get-go, you know, if anyone came in here and requested Kylie Jenner's nose or came in with a picture of Angelina Jolie and said, can I have her nose? He said he would turn them away because that is not what he's about. And if any surgeon kind of agreed to that, then you're probably not doing it for the right reasons. At the end of the day, the nose is still going to be your nose. It's going to be designed, if that's even the right word, to suit your face. So it's really important that you're doing it for you. If it's an insecurity you've had, then absolutely give it some thought, do some research, to decide whether it's right for you. But if you're kind of thinking, oh well, I'd like to make a little tweak, and you know, I really like her nose and I really like her nose, then I think it's probably, well, I don't want to kind of put words in your mouth, but it might not be right for you. It's a very big decision. You're making a big change to your face, and without sounding like I'm trying to scare anyone off, it does need a lot of thought. It's obviously something that you can't go back on. Once you've changed it, you've changed it. I was obviously very happy with my results, but I think the reason that I am so happy is because I managed my expectations, and I hated my nose so much before that anything would have been an improvement on, you know, the nose I always had. So for me, it wasn't about achieving perfection at all. It was about improving the nose I had, making it fit my face, and feeling more comfortable and confident with what I've been given. I do feel like now the nose that I have got suits my face more, it doesn't overwhelm my other features, and I just feel like everything is in harmony with each other. It's not kind of, I don't have this one giant feature that I am so unconfident about. I don't have a tiny little button nose. I've never had an aim to do that. So yeah, I think the most important thing about knowing whether surgery is right for you is managing your expectations and not striving for perfection. Perfection doesn't exist. I think the important thing to remember is that it's going to be your nose that suits you better, that makes you feel more confident. It's a slight, small tweak, a subtle change. I really wanted a natural result. So if you do as well, then obviously I would go for a surgeon that has those kind of similar goals in mind. Next question is, does the surgeon pick what nose will suit you best, or are you allowed to tell him that I want it like this? It's a little bit of a kind of mutual decision between you both. Obviously they're the expert, they've done lots of surgeries before, so they know what can be done. I did actually Photoshop a picture of how I wanted my nose to look, and he picked up the photo and said, it's going to look better than that. This is going to be changed, this is going to be changed, and he did loads of sketches for me. If I'm honest, I didn't understand the sketches, but I put my trust in him, and I've got a nose that I'm in love with, and that it is so much better than the pictures that I photoshopped. I think it is important to discuss with the surgeon exactly what you're looking for, whether you want a pointy tip, a rounded tip, whether you want it, you know, I think it's just important to be aware of different noses and talk to them and kind of come to a mutual agreement. The surgeon obviously knows what is going to look right on your face. They're not going to give you a nose that looks unnatural. At the end of the day, his work is his work. He doesn't want to do something that is going to look silly and ridiculous. Whenever I've met people, they've said, I can't believe you've had a nose job because it looks so natural and so real, like I never would have guessed. And for me, that's the perfect response, because I don't want it to look fake. I want it to look like my nose, like the nose that I was always supposed to have. So yes, to some extent, they do pick what would suit you best, but you're allowed to kind of obviously have a discussion with them about what your expectations are. And yeah, it's kind of a mutual decision, I suppose. The next question is, did your surgeon use a digital tool for showing you what your nose may look like after surgery? Nope, mine didn't, and I did want this, but he said you can't really kind of digitally manipulate what your nose is going to look like afterwards. Obviously the healing process is different, and again, he doesn't want to give you expectations that he can't deliver. But saying that, if you're really kind of nervous, thinking what it's going to look like afterwards, I would do what I did and try and kind of Photoshop or draw it out, make sure you're on the same wavelength and you feel confident that they've got your expectations clearly in their head as well. I think the digital kind of tool of predicting what it's going to look like sometimes isn't realistic, because it all depends on like the thickness of your skin, the healing. Like my nose isn't perfectly straight. I have got, if you look very, very closely, and I'm the only one that's noticed it, a tiny little like dent here. But it's never kind of showed, no one's ever noticed it. But again, it's not about striving for perfection, it's about an improvement on what I had and being happy and just knowing that I wanted a little tweak to make me feel a bit more confident. And actually, I was talking to a friend recently who had it done, and we both kind of agreed that when you're feeling so anxious in the week after you've had it done, it's kind of a good thing because you don't want to look too different, and that kind of makes you feel like, actually I am happy with myself, it's just that little kind of tweak that I wanted to make to boost my confidence, and for me it definitely worked. What did your nose look like before? So I will insert a few before and after pictures here or somewhere around here, and I will also tell you or kind of display the video which I filmed before I had my nose surgery. Obviously I'll silence it and I'll be talking over it now, but as you can see, it did veer off to one side. I feel like it completely overwhelmed my face and didn't let my other features show properly, as weird as that probably sounds. So yes, my nose was something that I really disliked, and it is very different to how it looked before, but I feel like I still look like me, which is the important thing. The side profile, I had a big hump, camel's hump on the side of my nose, and they shaved that down. So my nose is now, if you can see me here, is yes, much straighter, and from the other side, yeah, I just feel like it fits my face a lot better. Next question is, can they give it a feminine look and a subtle look? I think I've touched upon this before. Yes, my aspirations for it was that I wanted it to be completely natural looking. I didn't want anyone to know that I'd had it done, and to be honest, until I actually announced on social media that I'd had it done in January, no one guessed, no one ever said anything. So yes, I feel like if you go to the right person, they can very easily give it a feminine look and a subtle look, as long as you kind of specify that that's what you want. The final question is, if there were any complications, what would you do? Luckily, I didn't have any complications, touch wood, but I felt in very safe hands with Transform. I stayed overnight in Transform's Riverside Hospital in London and was looked after very, very well. They give you dinner, not that I could eat much, but the salmon dinner I had was delicious, the bits that I did eat. And yes, they come and check on you in the morning. They take your packing out, which is like the giant tampon-like things that you have up your nose. And I had, when I left, I had a number that I could call at any time if I had any questions or I was worried. You also have your patient coordinator who rang me the night before my surgery and said, oh, how are you feeling? And just have a little chat. So you do have a support network inbuilt within Transform that really is there for you if you have any concerns. Obviously, if you have any complications, you can go straight to them as well. You do have to be careful about cleaning your nose. You've got kind of dried blood and lots of gunk up there, which is very delightful. But obviously you have to be careful when cleaning it. I used a lot of the saline spray just to keep it clean, but yes, they will give you all of that advice, and if there are any complications, they will be first point of call. They will be there to help. I luckily didn't have any, but with surgery, obviously there comes a risk, and you do need to be aware of the risks and make sure, as I said, that the surgery is the right thing for you and you're doing it for the right reasons. So yes, that's my little roundup of everything nose job related. I don't know if I've touched upon every question, but hopefully I've given you an insight into my nose job story and my rhinoplasty surgery and what to expect. And if you're thinking about having rhinoplasty yourself, Obviously, please do feel free to leave any questions. I'm more than happy to chat, maybe do another video if there's lots of questions. It is a big decision, but without sounding cliche, it's the best decision I've ever made. I feel 100 times more confident. I'm not a different person by any means, and my personality hasn't changed, but there is just that thing that's been taken away that I'm worried about, and when I'm meeting new people, I don't feel like that is in my way. Yes, it has helped me massively, and if you are thinking about having rhinoplasty yourself, then please do feel free to get in touch. I'm here to help anyone. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, if you've stuck with me through all my waffling. If you did enjoy this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, that would be amazing. And I will see you very soon for the next video. I'm trying to post every Wednesday and Sunday, so if there's any video ideas that you would like me to post, let me know as well.